The fastest I've read is something about 450 kilometers per hour this car has gone. Is that right?
Yeah, correct. So we went to two directions on a road in Nevada in November with this customer car and broke, the top speed record for any production car and the fastest a car ever traveled on a public highway.
In September 2017, Bugatti set a record and publicly told the world that Koenigsegg only talks. They never prove it. 1 month later, Koenigsegg proved it, then proved it again and again. 8 years on, the record has changed hands 6 times, electric hypercars entered the war, and a software update beat 2,000 horsepower of all-wheel drive engineering using rear wheels alone. Bugatti has not held this record since the month they invented it. In this video, we are going to discuss exactly how that happened, the original taunt, the 8-year war, the software that changed everything, and what Bugatti still has left. Let us get into it. The record Bugatti invented. There is a particular kind of confidence that comes from believing you have already won a race before the other competitor has left the starting line. In September 2017, Bugatti arrived at the Frankfurt Auto Show with exactly that kind of confidence. They had just set the world's first officially verified 0 to 400 to 0 kilometers per hour production car record, the most brutal possible test of a hypercar's combined acceleration and braking capability. Starting from a complete standstill, accelerating to 400 kilometers per hour, then bringing the car back to a dead stop as quickly as possible. The Bugatti Chiron, driven by former F1 driver and Daytona winner Juan Pablo Montoya, completed the run in 41.96 seconds. The automotive world stopped and stared.
Montoya is going to win the 99th running.
Not 12 hours after the Indianapolis 500 comes to a close, does the work begin to immortalize the victory on the Borg-Warner Trophy.
It was, by any measure, a staggering achievement. 400 kilometers per hour is 249 miles per hour, a speed at which the air itself becomes a physical force, where the margin between control and catastrophe is measured in fractions of a second, where most production vehicles would have disintegrated long before the speedometer reached the halfway point. The Chiron did it in under 42 seconds. Montoya then stood on the brakes and stopped the car. The entire run covered just 3 kilometers of tarmac. It was a demonstration of engineering capability so extreme that Bugatti's communications team allowed themselves something they rarely permitted, a public dig at a rival. The target was Koenigsegg. For years, the Swedish hypercar manufacturer from the small coastal town of Ängelholm had been making extraordinary performance claims about their cars, theoretical top speeds, projected acceleration figures, calculated braking distances, without the kind of officially verified, independently adjudicated real-world runs that would silence the skeptics. Bugatti's CEO at the time stated plainly that while others are satisfied with theory, Bugatti validates with real-life values. The implication was unmistakable. Koenigsegg talks, Bugatti delivers. It was the kind of statement that sounds triumphant when you are standing at the top of the mountain. It sounds considerably different when someone climbs past you. What Bugatti had actually done, though nobody in Molsheim appears to have fully appreciated it at the time, was invent a competition and then invite their most dangerous rival to compete. The 0 to 400 to 0 record did not exist before Bugatti created it. There was no historical benchmark, no established leaderboard, no tradition of hypercar manufacturers racing to own this particular metric. Bugatti placed the trophy on the table, told the world it was theirs, and pointed at Koenigsegg while doing so. What followed was inevitable. Not because Koenigsegg was desperate to prove a point, but because this is precisely the kind of challenge that a company built on the obsessive pursuit of performance benchmarks cannot leave unanswered. The Chiron that set the record was a genuine marvel of engineering. An 8-liter, quad-turbocharged W16 engine producing 1,500 horsepower.
And while it's true that the 8-litre quad-turbo W16 engine gains 50% more power, this is way more than a tune-up job.
A powertrain so complex that servicing it required dismantling the car almost entirely. four-wheel drive, carbon fiber monocoque, active aerodynamics that adjusted in real time to keep the car stable at speeds that most aircraft were still climbing toward. Bugatti had thrown everything they had at the record, and the number they produced, 41.96 seconds, was breathtaking. The problem was the unit they used to measure it. 41 seconds looked very different. 1 month later, when Koenigsegg showed up with an Agera RS and proved that the answer to Bugatti's challenge was 36.44. That first counterpunch established the template for everything that followed. Koenigsegg did not simply match the record. They demolished it. They did not build a special prototype or develop a new platform specifically for the attempt. They used a customer's car with the owner's approval, running their existing twin-turbocharged V8 producing 1,360 horsepower, less power than the Chiron, lighter weight, rear-wheel drive where Bugatti had 4 wheels pulling, and 5 seconds faster. The taunt about theory versus real-world validation had been answered in the most direct language available, not with a press release but with a stopwatch. The war Bugatti started. What happened after that first counterpunch is one of the most compelling ongoing stories in modern automotive history, a battle that expanded beyond 2 competitors, absorbed a third, changed technology categories entirely, and produced numbers that would have seemed like science fiction when Bugatti set the original record in 2017. The 0 to 400 to 0 war became the defining performance contest of the hypercar era. And Bugatti, despite having created the arena, never stepped back into it. Koenigsegg improved their own record a second time with the same Agera RS in Nevada just 1 month after the first run, 33.29 seconds. The improvement was not dramatic in raw numbers, but the message it sent was, this was not a one-off effort. This was a brand in methodical pursuit of a number that they had decided belonged to them. Then, in September 2019, Koenigsegg returned with something different. The Rivalry, a plug-in hybrid hypercar producing 1,500 horsepower, lowered the record to 31.49 seconds. A car that stored electricity to supplement a combustion engine, firing both systems simultaneously to bridge the turbos during gear changes, had just reset a benchmark that pure combustion alone had previously owned. For 3 years, the record sat untouched.
Cherry red beauty behind me is the Koenigsegg Regera. So Koenigsegg says that this can go from 0 to 60 in less than 2.8 seconds.
Then, in May 2023, the contest changed character entirely when Rimac entered the arena. The Nevera, a fully electric hypercar producing 1,900 horsepower through 4 motors and all-wheel drive, posted a time of 29.93 seconds at a testing facility in Germany. Electric torque, available instantly across all 4 wheels from a standing start, had produced a number that internal combustion could not match at that moment. The hypercar world that Bugatti had built the original record around, the W16, the quad turbos, the meticulous mechanical engineering, was being challenged by an entirely different model of performance. And the challenger was, of all things, controlled by the same CEO who now ran Bugatti. Koenigsegg's response arrived 1 month later. They did not build a new car. They did not develop a new powertrain. They took the Rivalry, a car that had first run this record in 2019 and had technically been out of production, back to the airfield, and posted 28.81 seconds. An out-of-production combustion hybrid had just beaten a current-generation electric hypercar with more than twice the horsepower. The statement in that result was impossible to misread. When Christian von Koenigsegg commented publicly on why they used an older car rather than a new one, the answer essentially translated as, because it can. Because age and production status are irrelevant when the engineering is correct. In July 2024, the Esco Absolute entered the record books for the first time. Factory driver Marcus Lund set 4 world records in a single run at Örebro Airfield in Sweden. 0 to 250 miles per hour, 0 to 400 kilometers per hour, 0 to 250 to 0 miles per hour, and 0 to 400 to 0 kilometers per hour. completing the full sprint and stop in 27.83 seconds. The Absolute was the aerodynamic long-distance variant of the Jesko platform, designed with vertical tail fins instead of a rear wing, a drag coefficient of 0.278, and 1,600 horsepower through the rear wheels alone. In a single afternoon, it had redrawn the competitive map. The Rimac Nevera R responded in July 2025 with 25.79 seconds, 2,107 horsepower, all-wheel drive, instant electric torque, and the full engineering advantage that four-motor architecture provides in straight-line performance. On paper, it should have been insurmountable. The power advantage alone was 507 horsepower. The traction advantage of all-wheel drive over rear-wheel drive at these speeds was enormous.
This vehicle is unbelievable. 1,914 horsepower. That's almost 500 horsepower per wheel.
The Nevera R had done everything right. It simply did not account for what Koenigsegg was about to do with a software update. The record no one saw coming on August 7, 2025 at 5 in the morning, chosen for its calm winds and cool air, conditions that maximize traction and minimize aerodynamic interference. Markus Lund climbed into the same Koenigsegg Jesko Absolute that had set record a year earlier. There was no new engine, no revised chassis, no bespoke aerodynamic package developed for the attempt. Mechanically, the car was identical to the one that had recorded 27.83 seconds in 2024. What had changed was invisible. A software update known as Absolute Overdrive refined the Jesko's light-speed transmission and engine management system, extracting more performance from every phase of acceleration and braking. The result was staggering. 25.21 seconds. More than half a second disappeared from a record that already seemed close to the limits of possibility. Understanding why that gain is remarkable requires understanding what the Jesko Absolute is doing during a 400-fun 0-km/h run. At the heart of the car is Koenigsegg's light-speed transmission, a proprietary 9-speed multi-clutch gearbox unlike any conventional transmission. Rather than shifting sequentially, it can jump directly from any gear to any other gear without moving through the ratios in between. This allows the system to select the optimal gear instantly, eliminating the delays that cost precious fractions of a second in traditional gearboxes. During a run that takes the car from rest to 400 km/h and back to zero in barely 25 seconds, those fractions matter. Absolute Overdrive refined the gearbox's decision-making further, enabling it to anticipate traction conditions and choose ratios with even greater precision in real time. The traction control system received equally significant attention. In a rear-wheel drive hypercar producing 1,600 horsepower, traction management is the defining challenge. Apply power too aggressively and the tires lose grip, wasting speed. Be too conservative and valuable time is left on the table. The revised torque delivery strategy narrowed that margin, allowing Lund to deploy more power earlier and with greater confidence, even on damp, drying tarmac after rainfall earlier that morning. Conditions were less than ideal. The record fell anyway. Christian von Koenigsegg described the achievement in simple terms, almost magical. Hyperbole, perhaps, until the numbers are examined. The Rimac Nevera R sends 2,107 horsepower through all four wheels. The Jesko Absolute delivers 1,600 horsepower through only 2. The Nevera's electric motors respond almost instantly. The Jesko's twin-turbocharged V8 must build boost. By conventional engineering logic, the electric hypercar should hold the advantage. Software helped close a gap that physics seemed to favor. More important than the record itself was what the result revealed about the future of performance development. The largest gains available to modern hypercars may no longer come from hardware but from code. Through software refinement alone, Koenigsegg unlocked a meaningful performance increase without redesigning components, manufacturing new parts, or altering the underlying platform. The company announced that Absolute Overdrive would be rolled out to every Jesko Absolute customer. Cars already delivered would effectively become faster overnight. That is more than a record run. It is a philosophy, independently verified on site by RaceLogic, the same measurement company used during Bugatti's famous 2017 run. The result stands as a documented fact.
It's actually the Chiron. 0 to 60 in under 2.5 seconds. The power plant is a 16-cylinder quad turbo. If you drove this car flat out, it would drain the gas tank in just 9 minutes.
Rather than a manufacturer claim. From Bugatti's 41.96-second benchmark to Koenigsegg's 25.21-second achievement, the story spans only 8 years. Yet the gap between those numbers captures the entire arc of a rivalry that one company began, and the other has steadily transformed into its own. Rivals who respect each other. There is a version of the Koenigsegg Rimac rivalry that the internet prefers. Two brands locked in bitter competition, each desperate to destroy the other's achievements, the victories celebrated with barely concealed contempt for the loser. The reality is considerably more interesting than that. When Matt Rimac posted his response to the Jesko Absolute's August 2025 record, he did not offer a grudging acknowledgement or a corporate statement drafted by a communications team. He posted a personal video on Instagram, relaxed, genuine, and prepared. He had ready a PowerPoint presentation documenting the full timeline of the 0 to 400 to 0 record, tracing every run, every brand, every result from the original Bugatti Chiron in 2017 through to the Jesko's latest mark. He congratulated Christian von Koenigsegg directly. He called it a healthy battle. And he concluded with 2 words that said everything about the nature of this competition: game on. Christian von Koenigsegg replied in the comments with equal warmth, acknowledging the sportsmanship, expressing genuine respect, and making clear that the rivalry was understood by both men as exactly what Rimac had described. Not a war, a game. The kind of competition that makes both competitors better engineers, both products more extraordinary machines, and both brands more interesting stories for everyone watching. The public persona of hypercar rivalry, the social media taunts and the record press, releases and the carefully timed announcements, exists in parallel with a private reality in which the founders of these companies know each other, respect each other, and understand that the battle they are engaged in serves both of them far better than peace would. The complexity of the Rimac-Koenigsegg dynamic runs deeper than mutual respect between founders. It has been reported that during the development of the Bugatti Tourbillon, the new flagship hypercar that Bugatti unveiled as the successor to the Chiron platform, there were discussions between Rimac and Koenigsegg about the possibility of using the Koenigsegg Lightspeed transmission in the Tourbillon. That conversation, if it progressed as reported, would mean that the technology developed by the Swedish independent hypercar manufacturer, the same transmission that helped beat the Rimac Nevera R in a straight-line record, was under consideration for installation in the flagship Bugatti. The company that created the record category in 2017, potentially powered by the gearbox of the company that took it from them 1 month later. This is not the automotive industry that marketing departments describe. It is the automotive industry as it actually operates. A small, interconnected world where the same engineers attend the same events, where the same suppliers serve competing manufacturers, where the boundary between rivalry and collaboration shifts depending on what each project requires. Koenigsegg and Rimac are not simply racing each other. They are, in certain respects, building on each other, drawing from the same pool of breakthrough, thinking about what a production hypercar can do when engineering ambition is not constrained by the need to achieve mainstream sales volumes. What makes the Rimac congratulations particularly significant is what it represents about the future of the record. When Rimac says game on, he is not speaking metaphorically. He has already shown the PowerPoint. He has already documented the pattern. The record changes hands, the losing party responds, the benchmark falls further. The question is not whether Rimac will attempt to reclaim the record. The question is what they will use to do it, and whether the answer involves an entirely new architecture that sidesteps the rear-wheel drive versus all-wheel drive equation entirely. Koenigsegg, meanwhile, has already signaled that the Absolute Overdrive software is not the final word on what the Jesko Absolute can do. The same car, the same platform, the same philosophy, more code, more refinement, more time shaved from a number that is already almost impossibly fast. The record that Bugatti set in 2017 generated 1 month of ownership and 8 years of consequence. The contest they created, the taunt they issued, the invitation they extended to Koenigsegg. All of it has produced a rivalry that neither brand could have manufactured through marketing alone. These things are real precisely because the records are real, the times are verified, and the competition has no script. What happens next is genuinely unknown, and that uncertainty is exactly what makes it worth watching. What Bugatti has left, it would be easy, and not entirely inaccurate, to frame this story as Bugatti's defeat. They invented a record category, lost it 1 month after setting it, and have not held it in the 8 years since. Their closest ally in the hypercar world, Rimac, has tried and failed to keep the record away from Koenigsegg. The brand that built its identity on being the ultimate expression of automotive performance. The company whose marketing has consistently positioned every new model as the definitive statement of what a road car can be, currently holds no position on the leaderboard of the contest they created. That is the uncomfortable truth, and it deserves to be stated plainly. But Bugatti's position in the hypercar world is not defined by the 0 to 400 to 0 record alone, and understanding what they do still hold matters for reading where this story goes next. The Bugatti Chiron Supersport 300 Plus remains the first production car in history to
Bugatti Chiron Supersport, and it is seriously impressive. A luxury car and a hypercar and one of the fastest, most expensive vehicles on the planet.
Officially exceed 300 miles per hour, 304.77 miles per hour at the Escalation test track in Germany, achieved under controlled conditions in 2019. No production car has matched that mark on record. Koenigsegg's theoretical top speed for the Jesko Absolute, claimed to be 330 miles per hour based on simulation and aerodynamic calculation, has never been officially verified in a controlled top speed run. The record Bugatti holds in that category remains intact. The arrival of the Bugatti Tourbillon changes the competitive landscape in ways that are not yet fully understood. The Tourbillon replaces the quad-turbocharged W16 engine, the power plant that defined Bugatti for 2 decades, with a naturally aspirated 8.3-liter Cosworth VIF16 producing 1,000 horsepower, supplemented by 3 electric motors delivering an additional 800 horsepower. Total combined output, 1,800 horsepower. The platform is lighter than the Chiron. The hybrid architecture allows electric-only driving for short distances. And the engineering brief, as Bugatti has described it, is not simply to be the fastest in any single metric. It is to redefine what a grand touring hypercar means at the absolute apex of the market. Whether the Tourbillon can compete for the 0 to 400 to 0 record, whether Bugatti's engineers and Rimac's software team have designed the platform with that contest in mind, is not something either company has confirmed publicly. But the combination of a V16 combustion engine and 3 electric motors in a car that weighs less than its predecessor represents a performance architecture that could theoretically challenge both the Jesko Absolute and the Nevera R in straight-line tests.
The Nevera R is a satisfying car to drive at 60 kph because you arrive at jail speeds like that.
The discussions reportedly held about using the Koenigsegg light-speed transmission in the Tourbillon suggest that Bugatti is not approaching this generation of performance casually. What Bugatti still possesses, beyond the top-speed record and the engineering ambition of the Tourbillon, is something that cannot be measured on a stopwatch. They possess the mythology, the hand-built exclusivity, the factory in Molsheim, the Ettore Bugatti heritage, the sense that owning one is participation in something beyond automotive transport. Koenigsegg has technical brilliance and record-breaking performance. Rimac has the future of electric engineering. Bugatti has the weight of a name that carries a century of history. These are not equivalent assets, but they serve different purposes. And in the market for $6 million hypercars, mythology and history carry weight that lap times cannot always displace. But the 0 to 400 to 0 record is not mythology. It is a number, independently verified, sitting in a public database, updated in real time every time someone brave enough and fast enough decides to challenge it. Bugatti put it there in 2017. They told the world that theory is not enough, that real-world validation is the only thing that counts. 8 years later, that principle is still correct, and the number that sits at the top of that leaderboard belongs for now to a two-person hypercar company from a small Swedish town that Bugatti publicly dismissed when this story began. So let us bring it all together. Bugatti invented the record, mocked Koenigsegg for living in theory, lost the record 1 month later and never got it back, watched it trade hands 6 times between Koenigsegg and Rimac, then saw a software update beat 2,000 horsepower of all-wheel drive electric engineering using 1,600 horsepower through rear wheels alone. 25.21 seconds. Bugatti still holds the top speed record. The tourbillon is coming, and Rimac has already said game on. So who takes the next round? Koenigsegg, Rimac, or Bugatti tourbillon? Drop your answer in the comments right now. Hit like, subscribe. The next chapter is already being written.